Hello everyone, this is Christian Melnick's Taught Interactive, and in this video we are going to take advantage of all of the components and conventions that we've come up with when we were doing everything related to the securities. We're going to transfer those over to our accounts so that first off we'll start by updating the old back-end stuff, so everything related to the store, and then we'll finish by updating the actual accounts view to make use of our list view so that we can easily list all of our accounts and just use JSX to render that. We'll see all of that in this video. Alright, so before we get started here, as tradition dictates, I'd like to thank you for watching the video. And thank you for subscribing. And if you're not a subscriber, I hope that if you find the video interesting or useful at all, I hope you'll please consider subscribing. So with those being said, let's go ahead and get started here. The first thing we're going to do is go into our constants, our store constants file, and add a couple here for getting an account, an individual account, and all the other accounts. So we need a getter for account, which is a getter account, and we also need a export const getter accounts. Perfect. Let's go ahead and save that, and the next thing we'll do is store types. So what I did with the security states, we have our store state, which is extending the security state. We're going to do the same thing for our I account state. So we can get rid of it inside there, and we'll no longer need the constants. We'll treat it more as a module. So we can save that there. Maybe one day we'll do the same thing for the routes. Who knows? And next up, account types. So we're in here. We're going to need to import a few things. Let's come up here. Import from /store constants. We need the getters that we just created. We're also going to need that state for the accounts. We have our account module. And I'm going to move this interface down to the bottom. It caused me a problem previously. So we have our model. Let's come up here, type. So we're going to export type, which is a getter account, which is a function that takes in the ID and gives us back an account model. Now to fit with the convention that we've done with our securities, what we want to do is actually call these payload something instead of something payload. And for adding, instead of giving us a string, we'll expect an account model. Deleting is a number is fine, at least for now. And we'll export interface I account getters. And those are getter accounts. And that gives us the function we just created, and then we need the one for all of them, which gives us the array of models. I'm going to rename this, instead of iAccount state, it's the iAccount model state, and then we will export an interface for an iAccount state, and that will just be state accounts, and gives us the account model state. So we should be good to go with our account types now. And I'm going to come in here. We have a functions file within our store, which has our functions for adding, finding all, find by ID. And unique so far in the accounts module is we have a way to remove an account. Not sure whether keeping it's fine, right? It's a little harder to deal with removing in terms of the securities because of all the cascading. But Let's create a function in here, export function remove. We'll have a T, and that extends our iState item. State that gets passed into us is iState of T, and an ID. If I type that correctly, it might help. State of T, give us our ID. So then we'll just say state.items. State.items equals state.items.filter. Filter. And what we want is when the ID is not equal to the ID that's passed into us. So now we'll have a function for removing items. Next thing, account module itself. So by the time that we're done here, we're not going to need a reference to the Vuex store. We will, though, need from store action validator. We need the actions themselves and the validator. I guess that's probably out of alphabetical order, but I'm not changing it. Make things easier to deal with here. I guess what we need is just the getters. So the getter for individual account, or the constants for them, and for all of them. What we'll need down here is, from, oh, come on, store slash, this one's functions. We'll need the add, the find by ID, remove, and undefined message. We need the store getter tree. We're going to get rid of a couple of those up there in the end. Store getter tree. And inside of here, we need what? iAccount getters, iAccount state. We need to rename these to payload in front. Payload in front. I'm just going to deal with that a little bit first. Just rename these. Payload. Payload. And the initial state, we do, as usual, rename this I as account state. That'll cause a conflict for the moment, and apparently I decided to mess up typing this in, so that's not a real word there, so we're going to rename this, put in our missing I here. Now we'll take care of updating it ourselves because we're right here, get our I in. And of course we can now know that we do not need these types here. And gets rid of that, so we can get rid of our store context here. I guess while we're at it, let's go ahead and get rid of that and get rid of that, right? All right, so in the actions, I do also want to take these. We'll just call this payload. It's no longer a string. So we'll pass in the payload and pass in payload. And that should do it for the updating the actions. Let's export const count getters store getter tree. So we'll have a getter for an account. So this is our single account. So we'll get the state passed in to us. And as we mentioned, we have to return a function that takes in an ID. And now that I'm thinking about it, I forgot something else. So what we're going to need is a const store action validator. And that's equal to a new store action validator. So we are getting one. So const account equals find by ID. What we're looking for is the state, which is the state accounts, and the ID. we're going to check to make sure that it's not undefined. So we'll put our bang there. So we have our store action validator with our begin while, and we'll say store dot getting dot throw if account dot is undefined with the message we were looking for an account. We had that ID and state accounts and the ID. Nope. Index state dot index. Helps if you look on the right line. Perfect. So now we just return our account. We're good there. So we have our getter for our single account. Let's do the getter for all of them. So in that case, we have our state, but we're also going to get our getters, which are account getters. And inside of here, then, all we need to return is return, and probably rename it at some point, but whatever. State accounts, and items dot map. Look in the getters for the single account, which is our function. Now we pass in the ID. And we've mapped all of that, so that's good. Put our comma, our semicolon. Let's do some updating for our mutations. Apparently I didn't update these. Copy paste, so payload and payload. Perfect. We're actually just going to delete all of this because that's all taken care of by using our add function. And I've gone to calling these store states, I guess, so that we can use them. Store states. We can use the state later on. Store state, which means some things are not really the same, but store state accounts. Put on our payload, our sorting function. Perfect. And the function that we just created here, remove. And all we need is our store state, which one, state accounts, and the payload. So we're good to do that. And the last two things we need is to make this plural so it's not conflicting. And I changed that from initial state to account state. So now I can save that. Let's go ahead and go to the model here. I'm going to change this thing to account model config. Update that, and while we're in here, we are just going to public set the ID number. So this dot ID equals ID. And we're going to need it for the name. So string. Perfect. So save that. Getting oh so close here. So let's do count initial state. So we're going to need that config that I just named there. We are going to need the model state now. I think we don't need the other. So as we've done previously in the other initial state files, I'm going to create a function for creating the account or the model that we're dealing with, which in this case is the account. I'm going to stick with this, separating out the ID, even though where I did it, we needed it for that purpose. But so we're going to pass in the config here, and it's going to be minus the ID. So accounts will now be push new account model. We'll pass in an object which has the ID, and then we'll use the spread operator for the config that's passed in, and we will return ID plus equal 1. Perfect. So now if we're in development, we just say index equals create account, index and name. We just call it name-1 for now. We'll just put in a second one, so change that to 2. And this is again iAccount model state. So our initial state is working. We need to go to the store itself. This one we changed to be plural. We're also going to need the getters. So that's easy. Getters are right here. Account getters, and that becomes account state. We can save that. Now we can see that our little errors have gone away in the console over there. So we've updated all of that correctly. Last thing that we're going to tackle updating is the actual accounts view. In the end here, we're going to get rid of all of this. We'll come back to what we're adding. But we're going to make this TSX instead of just TypeScript. We'll use React, and to make my life simple, we're going to get rid of those imports, and we're just going to delete all of this. Skip ahead a little bit. By the time we're done, we won't need any particular styling right now, so we'll just get rid of all of that. Sort of start fresh here. So import, that's right, can't use that. Import list view from / components / our list view component. We're going to import routes routing service. And that's coming from / components / routing. And then we need to import the account model, getter accounts constant, and our getter decorator from /store. Use our list view, of course. We have to declare it in our components, and now we have the list view. Put our comma there. So here at getter, for the accounts, private read-only accounts, account model array. And we're going to go ahead and do the injecting, although we forgot to import. Inject. We'll do an inject here, private read-only, and routing service. It's type routing service, although we're not going to use it just yet. So in order to use our list view, we need a couple of functions here, methods. So private on click. So if the user clicks on the row of an account, we'll get passed in the account model. For now, we'll just log that they clicked. We're also going to need an on click create. So if you want to add some new account, click create. And the whole point of using TSX here is you can specify a render function for an account. So render an account, pass in the account, and what we'll just return is a label. Inside of that label, we will just put the name of the account. So that will take care of it for our script. Inside of our template, we just need the list view and do some binding. We're going to bind the items, which is the accounts. We are going to scroll down so I can see the rest of the stuff. vbind on click, and that's just on click. Vbind on click create, on click create, and the last one, render function, which is render account. So if we save that, now everything is updated to be in line with our securities that we've done previously, where we're using our list view with our create button. Now we have the same look and feel inside of our accounts. Click on the account, we get our click message, click on create, click create. So that is all working correctly. So I think that'll take care of it for this video. And in the next video, we'll do some more interesting things related to the accounts. So we'll obviously start to deal with the clicking on an account and bringing up the details so that we can either add an account or edit an account. At this point, it only contains a name, but soon we're going to associate securities with that account, and but we'll start to see all that in the next video. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. I know that your time is valuable. If you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel and click the thumbs up button, as well as share the video with your friends. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please leave them in the comments section below. And once again, thank you, and I will talk to you in the next video.